And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, is changing your industry, because there are people in this room, I would venture to say every single one of you in this room want to do it the right way, or you wouldn't be out here in Vegas. Can I sit here and amen? Amen. Anatomy of a lawsuit. What we uncovered in the $42 million verdict against John Eagle Collision Center. I'm going to take you through the beginning of the case, starting at the accident. I'm going to take you through our engineering analysis that we did. So, let's not waste any time. December 21st, 2013, a young couple that's 33 and 29 years old, Marcia and Matthew Seebachan, are on the way to Grandma's house. My God, the story couldn't get any better. A Toyota Tundra loses control, hydroplanes, and they impact into the softest part of that vehicle, which is the right front quarter panel wheel assembly and the door. Look what happens to the roof rail on both sides. On the driver's side, it's Z-buckled. When the roof collapsed, it caused massive collapse of the frame members underneath the Seebachans. The side on Marcia's side, her passenger side roof panel, also separated. Now, I will tell you this. The first thing I do when I get a case, I am always going after the car manufacturers. I am a vehicle crashworthiness lawyer. I sue car manufacturers for a living. I don't sue certain repair facilities. You guys are like me. You're small businessmen. But when you guys dig up my vehicle manufacturer defect case, I got to come after you. But I'm going to teach y'all how to get away from that today. So we take it to our crash lab, and we start looking at this and analyzing this, going, what in the hell is going on? Why is this roof doing this? Why are the rocker panels, why are the frame members underneath these occupants collapsing? First thing we do is we look at crash tests, and we know what the delta V is, the change in velocity over a given time and space and duration. And we're looking at this going, something's wrong here. So we file a case against Honda, called a vehicle crashworthiness case. Vehicle crashworthiness is the science of preventing or minimizing serious injuries or death following an accident through the use of safety systems. And I don't care what kind of case it is, there's only 5 principles of crashworthiness that have evolved since the creation of the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards back in the 60s. Number 1, I always use that acronym CREEP. You know, when Richard Nixon was in office, the Committee to Re-elect the President, that's how I remember all these terms. The C under CREEP is you maintain your survival space. The survival space all in the front, in the rear, on the side, on top of you. You provide proper restraint throughout the entire accident. And hell, I don't care about the 1 3/4 inch piece of webbing. That's your seat belt. That's made of polyester and nylon blend. I care about things like the airbags, the seats, the doors, the glass. The first D stands for distributing and channeling energy and crash forces. The best vehicles in the world, you hit them with the left front headlight, and the right rear tail light breaks out. Because we've taken that energy and we've spread the energy underneath the vehicle, around the car, over the car, rather than getting a big jolt of energy to the occupants. The second E, you prevent ejection. Today, or when you go back home to wherever you live, roll your window down. Put your seatbelt on, lock it in place, and see how far you can get your restrained body outside the vehicle. With a lock belt, you can get your body all the way out with a lock belt all the way to your belly button. That's with 1G. Imagine a rollover where momentarily in time, 360 degrees of rotation, depending on what that roll rate is, you can have upwards of 30 Gs on you for a few milliseconds. Thousands and thousands of pounds sucking you out of the car. Lastly, we want to prevent fires. But something wasn't right about our case. I couldn't put my finger on it because after suing 2,700 different, handling 2,700 different cases against every vehicle manufacturer in the world, with the exception of Volvo, I've never had a case. Hell, I can't find one wrong. I said, something's wrong here, because I've never seen a roof do this. OEM roof panels don't separate like this, or like this. The OEM frame members and the rocker panels They don't collapse like this underneath the survival space where the occupants are sitting. So why did the Seebachan safety cage collapse? How many of you know that that's Sherlock Holmes? I had a bunch of people in my office going, who the hell is that? I'm going, yeah, bunch of dumbass whippersnapper millennials. Oh, they said, oh, you mean Robert Downey Jr. in his show. Golly, people, learn something. Well, I tell you what was wrong. We started getting Honda involved in this thing, and Honda says, hell, man, we asked for them for their weld map, and we realized there's 108 roof welds running down the side rail, the header. Both side rails, the rear liftgate area, 108 welds, and of various thickness, of various types. And I said, well, you know what? I'm sort of like Reagan when he was in office. Trust but verify. So I went out and bought me a 2010 Honda Fit roof. I cut it apart, and I started looking to verify, well, what do these wells look like? Well, after all, there were 108. So we verified what the weld map said it was supposed to have. We verified the location. We verified the accuracy and the calibration of what they were supposed to be doing. However, there were no welds on the Seebachan's 2010 Honda Fit. Instead, they used adhesive bonding called 3M8115. 108 welds were missing, and I will tell you this, I refuse to call it adhesive bonding because in trial, jurors love themes, so we called it glue. No different than Elmer's glue that those jurors' kindergarten children used in their art projects. Because at the end of the day, Webster's dictionary says that glue is an adhesive and a bonding agent. It's all about smoke and mirrors, what I do for a living, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know shit from Shinola like you guys do, but I can say it louder, and I got a bigger megaphone, and I got a big personality. So, amen. The manufacturing and design defect case against Honda, because clearly something has arisen. So we start thinking, this Honda Fit has clearly been involved in a previous accident. So what do you naturally do? You go to Carfax. Wow, was that a dead end? The Carfax didn't have anything to say about a hail damage. The Carfax didn't have anything to say about any of the new roof being installed, but you know what it did say? It told some future buyer that there had been some seat upholstery work done on it. I don't know about you, but fabric never killed anybody. So what we did is we went and found the original owner of the vehicle, and we asked him, has this car ever been involved in an accident? Or, what's going on with the roof? He goes, oh, well, hell, I had after owning the vehicle for a couple of 3 years, a big hailstorm came through and totally wiped out my hood and my roof and knocked out all my windshield. And then I said, you wouldn't happen to have, who did that? He goes, oh yeah, John Eagle Collision Center. So we subpoenaed those records. And lo and behold, John Eagle Collision Center had installed the roof in that. A brand new roof. Guess what? John Eagle just bought themselves a lawsuit when we figured that out. And we've already figured out that they glued it. We figured out that they didn't weld it to the safety cage, so they got sued. Now, what happens when you get sued? Lawyers like me, who you do not want to come into your office and take your deposition, okay? So I took the deposition of a gentleman named Boyce Willis. Very nice man, but the guy was not properly prepared, which I am going to teach you today how to do that. Because you don't want to do any of these truths that this guy admitted in his deposition. When people take their vehicle to John Eagle Collision Center to be repaired after a vehicle accident or hailstorm, they trust that the body repairs will be performed according to the vehicle manufacturer's repair specification. John Eagle Collision has to comply with the vehicle manufacturer's repair specifications. People who take their vehicle to a certified Honda body repair shop like John Eagle Collision Center expect a certified body shop will follow the vehicle manufacturer's body repair rules. A certified Honda body shop like John Eagle Collision Center is required to repair vehicles back to the vehicle manufacturer's safety specifications. If a certified body shop like John Eagle Collision Center does not repair the vehicle to the manufacturer's repair specifications, and then someone is injured or killed because of the repair failure, the certified body shop is responsible. And lastly, on that page, if a certified body shop like John Eagle Collision Center does not follow vehicle manufacturer's repair rules and someone is injured or killed because those repair rules were not followed, the certified body shop is responsible for all of harms and losses. Folks, the case is over. He was our first witness, and we used these true-false boards, and he answered true to every single one of them on page 1. But I didn't even need page 2 and 3, but I wanted to ram it in good and deep. And I did. In the 2009 and 2013 Honda Fit Body Repair Manual, Honda Motor Company Limited required certified body shops to weld new roofs back on the vehicle. True. Nowhere in the 2009 to 2013 Honda Fit Body Repair Manual does Honda Motor Company Limited authorize the use of adhesive to glue a new roof on. True. You have never seen any document from Honda Motor Company Limited or American Honda Motor Company that says, we do not want our new roofs to be welded when you replace our roof structures on the 2009 to 2013 Honda Fit. Folks, these questions are crafted in such a manner that we have focus grouped them. If you think that lawyers like me are very smart, you're dead wrong. If you've ever watched that show with Michael Weatherly on CBS called Bullied, he uses these Bull is a jury consultant. Everything I do for a living has been focus grouped, just like these asshole politicians that we elect. I was told by Aaron to keep the curse words down, but I figured ass is an anatomical part. So I'm going to keep it down to a minimum. But it's hard not to when you're dealing with this stuff. Lastly, there is no documentation from Honda Motor Company Limited or American Honda Motor Company that authorized John Eagle Collision Center to use any type of adhesive to glue a new roof back on 2009 to 2013 Honda Fit. There's no documentation from Honda Motor Company Limited or American Honda Motor Company that says certified body shops like John Eagle Collision Center are authorized to use any adhesive to glue. They had the 2000. This is my favorite question of all. The 2009 to 2013 Honda Fit Body Repair Manual was John Eagle's Bible that they had to follow. What do you think one of my last questions was on cross-examination, since he was my first question? You know what happens when you violate the Bible if you believe in God? You go to hell. That's the thing, folks. And they sent one of my clients to hell because they caught him on fire. John Eagle Collision Center violated Honda's 2009 to 2013 Honda Fit Body Repair Manual by not welding the roof to the safety. Violation. John Eagle Collision Center violated 3M's information sheet that says don't use adhesive. Violation. John Eagle Collision Center violated 3M's standard operating procedure. Violation. John Eagle Collision Center violated ICAR's always follow vehicle maker procedures. Folks, the case was over before it began because I knew the answers to each and every single one of these. But the testimony got better because this guy told us this, and he opened the door up for me to talk about insurance, which is never done in a lawsuit. If you brought your car into my shop, the insurance company is going to dictate how we're going to repair your car. For the love of God, we all know it in this room, but never admit it. The insurance company cannot trump the OEM specifications. Correct, sir? Well, yes, they can. Well, where does it say that? By not paying the bill. Folks, let me give, if you take away one thing from this talk, that is never put your company's profit over your customer's safety. That's a good way to get your ass whipped. And that's what happened. That's why there was $42 million difference in this case, and that's why we succeeded at trial. The jury told us John Eagle Collision Center made a business decision to let the insurance company dictate safety to them so that they could get paid. We made a business decision for them to pay you every penny you asked for. With every witness, we talked about those missing 108 wells. With every witness, we talked about glue. We went through that page by page of the safety Bible, learning about how critical it is for the safety Bible, for these repair procedures, and how Honda required 108 wells. They told you where to put them. They told you the thickness. They told you the kind of wells. And they told you if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. And you know what? It proved to be accurate. Improper repairs can create an unsafe condition that can cause your customer or others to be seriously hurt or killed. Folks, follow the rules or face the consequences. It is a phenomenon in the law known as the reptile theory. We don't care. People generally don't care about the people that are bringing a lawsuit. What they do care is they care about their own selves, and they care about their family members, and they care about people that they know that can get harmed. It's called the reptile theory. We made this case about the public. We made this case about the jurors. We made this case about everybody but Marcia and Matthew Seebachan. And then we kept hammering. So now we've talked about Honda. Then we went after ICAR. And we said, ICAR says, hell man, it's real simple. Always follow vehicle maker procedures. It can't get any clearer than that. And ICAR reminds each of you that families ride in the vehicles that you repair. That is Reptile 101, folks, that you guys are out on the front lines. And if you're not doing your job, their families are going to suffer. And it resonated. We also exposed John Eagle Collision Center website claims because, frankly, they were just insane. Whoever says something like this? Our goal was to achieve better than new. We consider anything less not good enough. Really? Interesting. The jury really found that interesting too, because they said they asked that John Eagle change their website. But they also said this: restore the vehicle to its condition prior to the incident that caused the damage. Made it real simple for us. Hell, if it leaves Honda with 108 wells, send it back with 108 wells to your customer. Not with 75, not with 50, not with 25 or 0. Send it back with 108. The glue manufacturer that John Eagle used knew that Honda required welding, because the year before this vehicle was repaired, 3M had sent out this notice saying, we know that Honda and Acura, they don't want their panels welded. The glue company required in its standard operating procedures that OEM weld specifications must be followed. Now, we tried, because I'm a vehicle defect lawyer, hell, that's the only kind of case I know how to try, so I tried it like it was a Crashworthiness case. And we talked about what is the purpose of a roof structure. It's a rigid framework surrounding the occupant, which creates a support for the interior safety equipment and provides a survival space for the vehicle occupants in case of a crash. Well, what's the purpose of vehicle structure? The passenger compartment in all vehicles are designed as a safety cage, surrounded by body structures that deform in a crash to absorb energy that might otherwise be transmitted to the occupants. Simple stuff that you guys understand and that the jury understood too. And it's all about the safety cage. Where did we get this dog? Exhibit 202-1-20 was specifically from the Bible. That guy called the Bible. This is from the Honda manual. This was from the Honda manual. The safety cage provides occupant protection in all accidents in 360 degrees of safety. We talked about the history of safety cages. Back in the 90s, it was actually, the phrase safety cage was actually coined by General Motors back in the 30s, but a gentleman named Dr. David Viano talked about, how the passenger compartments in GM vehicles are designed as a safety cage surrounded by body structures that deform in a crash to absorb energy that might otherwise be transmitted to the occupants. We repeat everything 3 times in a trial because you figure these dumb shits that have about a 4th grade education aren't going to get it figured out unless you tell them. So what do we do to win this case? We relied upon crash tests, upon crash tests, upon crash tests. First thing we did is we did a small offset crash test. Show them this. This is a narrow frontal offset where it bypasses all the rails. Creates a 42 to 44 mile an hour delta V impact. And you'll notice that the roof does not separate. You can literally see the energy wave buckling the roof panel. But the roof holds, the wells hold, but that's the difference when you take an OEM that's got 108 wells versus one that doesn't have any. We proved through testing that the welded roof will not separate in a crash test that has the same forces as our accident. And to give you an idea, our delta V in our accident was 33. The delta V in that test is 42 to 44. To give you an idea how much more energy we're talking about, when you're talking about that kind of difference, because it's what the energy squared. It's almost double the amount of energy. This is what our vehicle looked like versus the small offset test. What's the difference here? The roof separated. There were no wells to hold everything together. It's like the safety cage is like the links in a chain. If you've got a safety chain that has 100 links in it, those 99 are only as good as the weakest link. The weak link in our vehicle was the roof. And what happened here, and you'll find it fascinating, Honda designed its front frame members to deform in a controlled manner to channel crash forces. They did that even though the front frame members had the highest megapascal rating of any of those frame members. Usually I notice that in these in the crush zones that the megapascals they use lower. Honda did it a little differently because they came up with a design called ACE, Advanced Compatibility Engineering, where they wanted those front rails to distribute and channel energy through the A-pillars, through the rocker panels, and underneath the vehicle, okay, so that you could channel and distribute energy. And this is basically, if you're looking at the underside of the vehicle, what I've marked in yellow here, those are those front frame rails that are designed to crush. Because you've got to get that crush started so that you can buy yourself time, okay? Timing is everything in these accidents. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, there's 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second. The front airbags have to sense, deploy, and go down by the time 50 to 60 milliseconds is over. That's the blink of a blink and a half of an eye. If you were outside that zone into 75 or 80 milliseconds or well into 100 milliseconds, you don't want the airbag to fire because you're going to be draped all over the steering assembly. You're going to be draped all over the instrument panel. You say, well, hell, Todd, I've got my seatbelt on. The new seatbelt systems that we have elongation rates, the ability to stretch upwards of 18%. More importantly than that, they've got load limiters on there that, depending on your height and your weight and the load that they're experiencing, they can spool out and allow a restrained occupant to move forward upwards of 18 inches because of the load limiting effect. Why do we have load limiters on vehicles? Because we want to spread out the load over a long period of time. That's why we don't have our seatbelts made of rebar. Years ago, remember, the cars just had the pretensioners. The pretensioners were great, man. You'd begin to go forward, they'd sink you back up in the seat so that you were always sitting in your optimal seating position, so that when your airbag deployed, you were sitting perfectly upright. They have gone away from that system. I think it's a disaster. I am going after the vehicle industry saying, why would you put one safety system that gets trumped by another one? Because it makes no sense. How many of you have a child that has a child seat? Or did? For those of you who didn't, remember what it always said. Make certain that the shoulder belts are snug. Do not swaddle your child in a blanket or wearing one of these onesies, that's 4 inches thick and they look like the Michelin Man. Okay? Take the clothes off the kid, put a blanket over them, but you want to make certain that you could put 2 fingers between the chest and 2 fingers between the shoulder belts, because you want to tie them rigidly in there. Then why on God's green earth would you have something opposite for adults? The car industry firmly believes that you should provide equal protection. Well, that's it. Why in the hell don't we have airbags in the back seat yet? Why don't we have pre-tensioners in the back seat yet in most vehicles? Hell, on third-row vehicles, why don't we have head restraints on most vehicles? This is what happened when our frame rails did not crush. It crushed in the wrong location. It crushed underneath where Matthew and Marcia are sitting. And that's why they received these massive crush injuries. Now, so what we did to show the jury how these are supposed to crush, we start showing them a series of crash tests. So we show them this crash test, that's clearly a 0-degree frontal barrier at 35 miles an hour. What I've circled here in red, those are those frame rails that are sitting out there. Watch what happens to them, realizing that this is the strongest megapascal in this vehicle. That's tied with the side rail and the rocker. They accordion. They crush like you're supposed to because they want to distribute that energy. They want to crush, they want to absorb, they want to accordion so that we can spread the load through. I think I got a pointer here. So we can distribute energy through here. This idea of distributing energy was created by Mercedes-Benz, and they came up with it through a concept as a tuning fork. They used to the engineer that came up with the crush zones came up with a tuning fork design. He said, "You know what? My child plays piano, and I noticed when I hit one side of this tuning fork, the sound waves go up it, go down the horseshoe, go down. All of our safety systems that we see in our energy distribution and channeling systems are based off of tuning fork. So what we did is we look at what is going on with respect to the IIHS, the narrow frontal offset. So pay attention to this later on, because this is the fuel tank. Here's the rails. You'll notice that the rail was totally bypassed here. Okay? None of the rails in an IIHS test are deformed. This probably was the single most important document that generated a trial. In the Seebachan accident, the left and right frame rails on the Honda between the front bumper and the firewall did not permanently crush, deform, shorten, or bend. Every single one of these experts agreed, with the exception of Smock, and he wasn't qualified to talk about it, but he wasn't qualified to talk about what the hell he was supposed to talk about. Blaisdell, by the way, was John Eagle's expert. So he agrees with this. Well, wait a minute here. I thought you were going to tell this jury that this is a frontal impact that's the equivalent of a 0-degree barrier. Why the hell didn't it crush? He didn't have an explanation for it, and here's why. He had never worked for a vehicle manufacturer. He had not conducted a crash test since Richard Nixon was in office, and as I reminded him, the last time you did a crash test, these gems were rolling around. AMC Pacer, AMC Gremlin, the AMC Javelin, the Ford Pinto. The jury's just going crazy, sitting there going, this guy is so full of Dewey, Aaron. Crush. Nothing crushes back here. Why is that? Because the energy management system, the advanced compatibility engineering design is working, and it's taking this load and is distributing it down the thickest members, megapascal rated about 570 in this area, so that we don't have this. So we had to discuss delta V throughout the entire accident. I guarantee you, I told the jury early on, I said, those of you who are scared of math, Don't worry. I will walk you through it. I got a degree in mechanical physics, and I think I'm smart enough to teach you a simple concept like this. I just wish that I could have taught delta V to the dumbass that they hired. To understand delta V, you've got to understand the accident, and you have to conduct a thorough accident reconstruction and engineering analysis. And it starts with the vehicle. That's good to hit. You got to take your vehicle, you got to take that vehicle, and you look at it. And you start looking at the things that matter. Hellfire. The glass is still intact. The sunroof is still intact. You got a little boy sitting right here who didn't even wake up. He was in a car seat, 13 months old, and didn't wake up. He's going to make a great college kid one day. That's my daughter, who's 18 years old. There could be a 747 land in her dorm room, and she would not wake up. He's already ready for college. What happened here is, though, we started analyzing this, going, and we're piecing this together. We're doing a forensic analysis. And then we realized that we took our vehicle and said, there's a massive tear in our condenser. So what we did is we matched up two undamaged vehicles. We take off the hood, we take off the bumper fascia, we take off the quarter panels, and we start doing the engineering analysis. And we realized what caused the tear was the wheel of the Toyota. There was exactly 20 inches of distance between the first tear and the second tear. Guess how wide that wheel is? It's 20 inches. We then take the actual vehicle, we buy the identical wheel that's on there, and we start matching up physical evidence so that we can tell the story on the engineering analysis. Now, when it comes to delta V, there's several methods that you can use, but the methodology that the defense used was this thing called crush profile. That to crush a vehicle a certain amount of inches, it takes a certain amount of load to do that. And it takes a certain amount of force to do that. And we know from a standpoint of the engineering that we can equate that to a delta V. But guess what? If you're going to do the delta V analysis and use the crush profile methodology, you can't cheat, because it's science after all. So this is the most famous paper ever written on crush profile analysis. It's written by a guy named Nicholas Thomas. Now, Nicholas Thomas is a pretty smart guy, because everybody recognizes that he's about the smartest guy on the planet. And he specifically talks about that you do not include free space. You don't include this stuff called free space, which are areas of vehicles where there's no components, where there's no structure. And the reason that's important is because it gives you artificial numbers. And guess what we had? In our vehicle on the Honda Fit, when you take off the hood and you take the fascia off, there's a 9-inch free space gap where there's nothing there. This guy decided to add it in there. That's just dead wrong. You gotta, if you're gonna do crush profiling, you're gonna be involved in cases like this, you gotta make precise crush measurements. What we do at our office is we use the same scanning system that Boeing and all the car manufacturers use, so that we don't make measuring mistakes. Now, one way to not make a measuring mistake is use a ruler. But they didn't. They paid him $125K and never made a single measurement. That would have taken $200K to use a ruler. But look at some of the graphics that we get here. And guess what? There is a new scanner that's out there that we're buying from Israel. And this thing is some hot shit stuff, man. It usually takes about 45 minutes to scan a vehicle, and it takes about 8 hours of time to connect all the dots. The new system from Israel that everybody's going to takes about 4 minutes. You sit there with the scanner, and I could replicate this room going around. Burl, sit in. No. And I could scan the entire room and watch it develop, and it's eliminated the points. We'll be able to scan 10 vehicles a day. It's that precise. But that's the key to this stuff, is if you're going to go to trial, you better You better focus on the details, because the devil is in the details. And over and over and over again, we showed this jury, we've done the analysis. They haven't. Now, for those of you who are thinking, are there consequences to faulty repairs? My monitor keeps coming out, keeps going in and out. It's driving me insane. It's like I'm having a hallucination over here. So, there are consequences to faulty repairs. I love this graphic. Welcome to heaven. This is a great test that Honda did. I think they played this at one of your seminars. You know, where they took an OEM, MDX or MKX, one of those vehicles. They then repaired it improperly, and look at the difference in crush that you get on the side rails and on the door beam. Okay, to the point that the OEM, when it does a 40-mile-an-hour narrow frontal offset, doors open. Doesn't have to be pried open. The improperly repaired vehicle, they got to pry that sucker open. How about this one? If you do not repair the B-pillar properly and you don't follow the OEM specifications, watch what happens, how much more crush you get. Folks, in a side impact, it's a near side impact, it is critical that you prevent the crush as much as you can. Because the crush, if you get too much crush in a side impact, you take away the benefit of the side curtain, and you get what is known as a thump injury. A thump injury is a big jolt of energy that hits you on the near side of the thorax, and it takes your ribs, fractures your ribs. You then lacerate your lungs and your internal organs, and you bleed out. Faulty repairs equals fuel tank puncture. That's what happened in our accident. Those frame rails, when they collapsed, they collapsed into the fuel tank. The fuel tank actually burst, and that's what caught on fire, and that's why Matthew suffered such horrible injuries. Now, I will tell you this, and this is my belief. If you don't think I'm on your side, folks, this graphic right here ought to tell you, I am absolutely on your side. I'm going to be your best advocate, because I think these asshole insurance companies have been blowing you off for too damn long, and it is time for a groundswell. We are going to put a stop. We're going to put a stop to getting bullied. You know what? For far too long, we've had 3 or 4 repair shops around the country that's been raising hell. There's a gentleman in Georgia. There's gentlemen in Mississippi. There's Burl. We got some others that I don't know about. But for far too long, they stood out there on the front lines by themselves. We don't have to do that anymore. Because you know what? Take the message that you're getting here today and spread this. I want to be a Ponzi schemer. I want you to take this message and send it out to 50 people. Those 50 people will send it to another 50 people. And after all, or after a little bit, it's going to turn like the plague. It's going to spread across the country. And instead of 3 or 4 guys sitting there telling the insurance companies and fighting back, when you get hundreds of you doing it, that's when this verdict will make a difference. Now, I will tell you this, by dictating improper vehicle repairs for decades, insurance companies have seriously injured and killed thousands of customers who were driving around in time bombs and they didn't know about it. And I want you to think about this for a second. Think about your customers for a moment. One thing that touched my heart and why I decided to go after this cause, when Burl Richards, big old Burl Richards, told me, I stay up at night waiting for that call that I'm going to get that one of my customers has been seriously injured or killed on a vehicle that I repaired, because I'm trying to do it the right way. But I want you to know for a minute that if you think about your customers for a minute, think about who they are.
The streets of heaven are too crowded with angels tonight. There are students and our teachers and our parents and our friends. The streets of heaven are too crowded with angels. But every time we think we've measured our capacity to meet a challenge, we look up and we're reminded that that capacity may well be limitless.
I want you to think about that. Your customers are parents and teachers and children and friends. Can you imagine being in a small community and being bullied so that you sit out your kid's baseball coach in a time bomb? Who could live with themselves? And faulty repairs could do this, folks. Broke literally every bone in her body. This is Marcia Seebachan. And if you don't want to see burn injuries, I would close your eyes right now. And it can do this. So what did the defense say? What did not work for John Eagle? Because everything they tried backfired big time, as Donald Trump would say. They suggested that the OEM specifications were just recommendations, which was clearly wrong. Hell, it says it right here that they are not. It's important to note that the procedures provided by the vehicle maker are service specifications, not recommendations. We use this book over and over again. The Collision Repair and Refinishing, a foundation course for technicians. I want you to look at this. This sums up the whole case. A repair technician is responsible not only for returning a vehicle to its cosmetic pre-collision condition, but also for returning it to its pre-accident crashworthiness status. That is to say, if the vehicle should be involved in another collision following its repair, it must perform during that collision as it was originally designed to perform by the manufacturer. To return a vehicle to its proper crashworthiness, the manufacturer's recommendations and repair requirements must be followed precisely. Second defense. Hey, our certified welders know more about vehicle design and safety than the engineers who designed, developed, engineered, and tested the vehicle. That was wrong. The car manufacturers and you guys, y'all work together. There's a symbiotic relationship. The car manufacturers spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year designing these vehicles, developing them, manufacturing them, testing them, so that the vehicles that they put out on the road not only will meet Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, but will also protect occupants in foreseeable impacts. It's also your job then to get them back. To suggest that you know more about it than the engineers that's doing it is ludicrous. Although you guys are absolutely critical and you're experts in the field, but you have to work together. Before I play this, bonding, this was one of their defenses. I guess they didn't know what their exhibits said. Bonding is more expensive than welding. I guess they didn't read their exhibits because this is what they played. I played it for them.
It's easy to use. It's safe. It saves time and increases profitability.
Man, I don't know about you, but God almighty, know what's in your file, folks. Everybody's bonding metal now. That's wrong. Yeah, we showed them the successor platform vehicle for the Honda Fit. They're still welding it. You know, you don't change a design in the middle. You know, if you're going to change a design, let me give you an idea. One of our engineers said when he was at McLaren, when they changed one weld, wanted to reduce it by one weld, they would spend tens of millions of dollars to say, is that going to affect safety? What they kept trying to, get the jury confused about is, well, the McLaren MP4 12C, when it was originally designed, and the McLaren 570S and the Aston Martin DB11 and the Tesla, they got bonded roof, but they were designed that way from the paper up. Besides that, when you've got carbon fiber on vehicles, you can't weld it. The crash was just too severe. It doesn't matter that we glued the roof. Well, that proved to be wrong. So what did we do? We went back to the very basics. He used this EdCrash program, and that's fine and dandy. It's a good program. But we kept finding all these papers that basically said, you can't use EdCrash on an impact like this because it overestimates delta V. You mean like juices up delta V? Like an accident reconstruction on steroids? And we found paper after paper after paper that this computer program wasn't worth a shit on overrides, which is what we had. My favorite exhibit of all was this. Vehicles have A, B values. The B is what really counts when you're looking at the strength of a vehicle. The B value tells you what kind of load that it takes before it begins to crush. In the software that he had, the highest B value that his computer had capability of was 67. Look at the B values that he used for all of his runs. 395, 351, 288, 396, 329, 407. Why did he do that? Because he kept manipulating the data, trying to get it to fit a theory. When you get paid $1.25, by God, you're going to come up with some bullshit. And that's why 2 + 2 = 5 when you're paid $125K. The delta V was much higher. I don't think so. So it came down to this one, probably my third favorite exhibit. Doesn't an inch still equal an inch? Well, not to the defense, because the crush is the crush is the crush. But yet, if you look here across here, this guy can't figure out what the hell he's measuring. 26. These are all supposed to be consistent numbers. These numbers should be consistent throughout. Now look at this: 26, 21, 19, 16, 33. My God, we've now found a new product. A vehicle that grows after an accident. And it's never a good idea to get caught lying to the jury. He told this jury that the left frame rail was crushed rearward approximately 17 inches, and that the right frame rail was deformed rearward over 7 inches. Now, he wasn't prepared when we asked him this one. But wait a second, you told the jury, you're a lawyer, and you told the jury just a few moments ago that the left frame rail is 17 and the right one's 7 inches, but yet, isn't it true that neither left or right frame member is deformed at all? Not an inch. Well, yeah. You know, just say stuff. Just make up stuff. And don't, now, I want you to watch this. You know, we've already kicked his ass, but sometimes you get the piss-off factor. According to me, piss-off factor. I want you to watch this. So, I've already caught this guy when I take his second deposition. We know what he's done now. So my first question, anybody who would manipulate and edit and modify and scab together multiple runs and act like it's one, they're sort of a scumbag, aren't they? He goes, yeah, I agree with that. So my first question out of my mouth was, are you a scumbag? He goes, no, I think you are. Let me show you why. And we showed him this. Watch this. I want you to watch this stuff. He started editing. There's data on here, and then he put a post-it note over the data. He took his video and he changed it. What's wrong? You could see the data moving and being erased. Taking a post-it note where he literally is covering up data because he knew that it wouldn't match up with reality. So what he was doing was covering up the numbers. I don't like this stuff. Juries, it just gives them a serious case of red ass, and for a good reason. Now, remember me telling you about Smock earlier? The guy that said he wasn't qualified? Now, this guy was supposed to be a biomechanical engineer. Biomechanical engineers, I call them, they're like voodoo. They're like voodoo doctors. You know, they just come up with this total bullshit that doesn't make any sense, but I got to hire them, and we pay them a lot of money. I want my kids to be one because we still don't know how to define what it is. And they make a shit ton of money for what they do. We still haven't figured out what they do. But biomechanical, so we got, first of all, we find out he's not a biomechanical engineer. He's never seen a crash test. The only time he had seen a crash test of me is when he came to my office and saw 3 of them that I've got sitting in my front lobby. Maybe he needs to come to see them. I bet you they got a series of hybrid 3, probably some side impact dummies, maybe the pregnant dummy here. Maybe he needs to come out here next year, and then after he does that, he needs to go take some classes on biomechanical engineering. But he said this, well, you know what? All these injuries that your client has are on they're deceleration injuries because the delta V is just too bad. I said, well, did you know that the guy that you're relying on his delta V got yelled at by his own lawyer for saying the word delta V? Not once, but twice he was so bad. So you don't have a delta V to hook onto. But let's just talk about these deceleration injuries for a minute. Would it surprise you to learn that what you said are deceleration injuries with these injuries to the internal carotid and the bilateral carotid dissection and the transected aorta, that page after page after page of the medical records said that they're blunt force injuries, which proves our case. Well, I guess I didn't look at it that closely. I said, I don't know, for 75K, I think I might have reviewed them a little closer. I still like this one too. A roof is not a structural member. Wrong. They kept trying to say, but these roofs, it's very thin. It's not ultra high strength steel, but there's a reason for that, and you guys know why. Because you got to be able to fold it and fold it. But it's also real simple. And anybody who's ever built a wall, what's called a shear panel, take a 2x4 wall, okay? And man, you nail that bitch in the ground. I mean, take an 85-foot nail and nail that thing all over the place. And then watch that thing, it's just doing this. Well, shit, did I need an 86-foot nail instead of an 85-foot one? No. What you need is a crappy old piece of plywood. And when you put that old crappy piece of plywood on there, like this flimsy piece of plastic that you're seeing up here, guess what happens? It's a phenomenon known as a shear panel. Man, it just makes it rigid. And that's what the purpose of a roof panel is. But don't take my word for it. Hell, we kept going back to the collision repair and refinishing because it says the roof also plays a critical role in reducing the collision energy, even though it's not made of high-strength steel. But you guys know that. He didn't. While many other vehicle parts add to the vehicle structural integrity, welded exterior parts contribute substantially to a vehicle structural integrity and its crashworthiness. My piece de resistance in this trial, I finally said, you know what, let's just assume for a minute that all of your bullshit delta V numbers are right. He goes, okay, good. Let's go back to biomechanics. At an 18.7 mile an hour delta V, what happens? Hand me that chair, sir. Put that chair there. I'm not getting paid extra for this. I'm the media. I'm not supposed to be involved. Okay, so if you're the driver of the Toyota Tundra gets hit in the side. He's got a seatbelt on. But if you get hit in a T-bone on the far side impact, your body does this. You roll out of your seatbelt. Okay? That's why I keep working real hard for us to get in more center-mounted airbags. This is a plug. I want more center-mounted airbags. I want reverse geometry seatbelts so that this doesn't happen. Oops. But the reason that this was so effective was because all of the biomechanical engineers in the world and all of the researchers all agreed that in an 18-mile-an-hour delta V impact, when you roll out of your belt, you're paralyzed. Guess what? The driver of the Toyota that caused the accident was the man that pulled Marcia and Matthew out of the ditch. He wasn't paralyzed. He didn't have a bruise. He didn't have a cut. And remember this, his kid slept through the accident. So we took their own bullshit data and tore them up with it. Here you go, folks. This is why you came. 11 ways to avoid a $42 million verdict. I'll give somebody this talk if y'all want to have this so you don't have to write it. Okay, here we go. Always follow OEM repair specifications. Pretty simple, huh? Pretty basic. Number 2, always follow ICAR. Number 3, never forget who your customer is. Man, I just love this. I love this slide. Your customers are the lifeblood of your business. When they entrust you with their vehicle repairs, they are putting their lives and the lives of their loved ones in your hands. Don't let them down. Man, that's Merle. This is why you're sleepless at night, my friend. If there are no number 4, if there are no OEM repair specifications, research how to make the repairs. Keep records and keep your customers informed. Folks, this ain't 10 years ago, and it's not 20 years ago. Today, you better keep records on data, on accuracy, on integrity. You know, the day and age, you know, where you do an estimate, you put it on the back of a popsicle stick. Those days are over. You gotta learn the CYA. You gotta learn to build a file. Number 5, never overpromise what you can deliver. If you got a website, make it vague, make it ambiguous. Say goals like our objective is to deliver the safest vehicle we possibly can. Don't tie yourself down to stupid shit like this. Number 6, if your shop makes repairs, report the repairs to somebody for the love of God, and then keep a record of it. Now, you can't help what Carfax is doing, and you can't help what these other reporting agencies are doing, but you can at least say, hey, I tried my best, I reported it, I told the customer about it. What is that feedback? State Farm and the NSA? Dear God, I'm going to get audited. Number 7, never put profits over your customer safety. Number 8, never admit you're letting insurance companies dictate how you repair vehicles. Number 9, tell your customer in writing what the insurance company is doing, that you recommend against it because the vehicle will not be as safe in the event of an accident, and that their family or a future owner of the vehicle can be seriously injured or killed. Then have your customer sign off on your shop performing the insurance company's repair so that you can cover your ass. Now, I will tell you this. I don't think any of you would take this route or you wouldn't be here, because we don't take the easy way out of shirking your safety responsibility, because in each of you sitting here are professionals, and here in America, we have always, I truly believe this. I think that you guys are on the front line. I think that you guys want to do it the right way, and I don't think that you're going to let some little shithead lawyer draft you up a release that you can give to your customers and still live with yourself. You may be protected, but can you live with yourself? I don't think you're going to go that route, because you know what? In America, we don't do that.
We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed, we cared about our neighbors, we put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed. by great men, men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one.
That talk right there, that talk right there is what you guys are about. Don't take the easy way out. I don't think you're going to. Number 10. Be a hero and stand up to the insurance companies and tell them and your customer in writing that the insurance companies, that the approved repairs violate OEM repair specifications and will cause serious injury or death to your customer or any future owner of this vehicle if an accident occurs in the future, and that you will not repair the vehicle knowing you are placing someone's life at risk. Now, I will tell you, that's going to take some cojones, because you're going to lose some business, you're going to have them shitting on you. But I will tell you this, instead of having 3 or 4 guys doing that, when you've got hundreds and thousands of people across the country doing it this way, and when you give that client, and you give that, or that customer, and you give that insurance company the same piece of paper, and you put it to them like this, that your customer's going to die, or be seriously injured or maimed, I don't think they're going to go take it down to the Service Kings or the Caliber Collisions of the world. I don't think they're going to take it to the Julio Smiths of the world. I think they're going to sit there and say, you know what, God damn it, we paid for insurance. I want this thing done right way. And when you guys band together, and the guys that are sitting there on the front lines now, let's bring up another 1,000. Let's get together and bring up 2,000 more. Stand up. You'll lose some money at first, but I guarantee you, if you stay with me in this fight for the next 30 months, I will guarantee you, you guys will start making more money, and your life will be better. Which brings me to my last point. You be a hero and you stand up to the insurance companies and tell them and your customer in writing that the insurance company's approved repairs violate OEM repair specifications and will cause serious injury or death to your customer or any future owner of this vehicle if an accident occurs in the future, and that you're going to perform the work required by the OEM. You're going to take what the insurance company pays, and then you're going to sue the insurance company for the difference.
This is a time for American heroes. We will do what is hard. We will achieve what is great. This is a time for American heroes, and we reach for the stars.
And I will tell you, this is your call. This is it. This is a defining moment in your industry. You've had a verdict that can change the industry. It's up to you guys. But I will tell you, I'll help you along the way. If you want to be a hero and take on the insurance companies that have stiffed it, you give me a call. There's my office number. There's my cell number. And I'll tell you what, I'll go on there and I'll be on the front line with you. I will be a warrior for you.